Thanks for coming down tonight, guys. It's awesome to have a good show of people here, and I don't know why you want to come and listen to me, but anyhow, I feel privileged that you've decided to make the effort. Feel very good about it, and thanks Adam for the opportunity on behalf of Prolure to be able to come here and speak in front of your shop, mate. In terms of tournament fishing, actually, let's go back to fishing in general. Look, I think fishing, it's a bit like making love. Now, look, I hope you don't mind me saying that. And it's a weird thing to say, and I hope my wife's not going to get to listen to this. But sort of, the more you do it, the better you get at it, providing you're doing it well. Now, I say that because I've found throughout fishing lots of tournaments, the more that I fish or practice, I feel like I'm better in a tournament situation. And I'm not sure what that has got to do with, whether it's got to do with timing, timing your strike or just being on the water. I think it helps a lot. So for tomorrow, what would I do and what do I want to do to get the best out of myself and the best out of my opportunity of being on the water? I think it comes a bit down to planning, a bit down to mental rehearsal, because if you haven't got the time, I haven't got much time to go fishing at the moment because I've got 2 young kids, I've got one on the way, and so I'm very time poor. So mental rehearsal is actually really good. This last week, I've actually been thinking in my mind, what am I going to do? What am I going to do when I'm on the water, and how am I going to do it? And I've started thinking about catching like 1.5 kilo fish and all that sort of weird stuff. Does anyone else have those thoughts, like being on the water and catching like massive fish, or is it just me? Is it just me?
I do it.
You do it? Yeah. That's one thing to think about it, but it's another thing to catch them. But I'm going to put this down for a second because I want to sort of show you what exactly I'm going to do tomorrow. And I don't know what you're going to do, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pass around these 3 lures because these will be the 3 lures that I throw most of tomorrow. One of them has a hook in it, the grub tail, so please be careful. It's brand new, so it's going to be super sharp. That motor oil grub tail there's got a 1/12 jig head in it. This might sound strange to some, but I like throwing that in water anywhere from about 1 foot to 2 feet deep up to about 2-3 metres at best. I won't throw it probably much deeper than 3 metres. My theory behind it is that the sooner I get to that lure to the bottom, the better for me. I feel like it enhances my chances of catching better quality fish, because I think, and my theory is that I find, and especially this time of the year, around when fish are about to go into spawn, the big fish, are hard to the bottom and they've got their noses into vertical structure. And I'm putting it right out there right now. I'm saying exactly, you're getting from me now exactly what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm going to be fishing structure. It's going to be a lot of vertical structure, and I'm going to be fishing hard to the bottom. So I'll be looking for lures like that lure there, that Prolure motor oil with a 1/12 jig head. I'm using that because I've had so much success, and anyone who's fished with me just when I've been, recreational fishing, Andrew's been with me a couple of times, Stuart's been with me, he's experienced it, Sid, you've been there. I've had a lot of success catching very good quality fish using that method. Now, lots of you guys are going to do lots of different things tomorrow, but that's going to be I would call it my 90%er. I'll be doing that 90% of the time. The other thing I will be throwing tomorrow is I'll be throwing a creature bait, which is somewhere around the live yabby. I'll be throwing that in the mud green. I think the water's going to be dirty. We've had, 250 mil maybe of rain in the last 3 weeks here over this way in Sydney. The water's going to be dirty. I like that colour in dirty water. It'll be on a 1/28 jig head, so it'll sink a lot slower than the motor oil grub, but I will be using that under boat holes and under pontoons. And the other lure I'll be throwing a lot of tomorrow is the D36 in violet shrimp. I like that as a dirty water colour along with black, so I'll throw that and black tomorrow. I'll be throwing that mostly at hard structure on the edges, so pontoons, or how you got the rails down the sides where they launch their boats, where you got like a boathouse and a rail. I love throwing them along rails where it's going from 0 into sort of 3-4 feet of water. Some edges are obviously deeper, but I really like the shallow stuff. I love it when it hits the structure. I love it when it hits the bottom. I reckon it really antagonises the bigger fish, and I find personally for me, I get really good quality fish using that particular method of fishing. I will throw other stuff tomorrow, but I would say that they'll be the three things that I will throw most of the time. Now, in terms of, who's won a tournament here? Put your hand up if you've won a tournament. Have show of hands. Don't be afraid. Put your hand up if you've won a tournament. So there's about half of you have won a tournament. Who hasn't won a tournament but actually would really like to win a tournament? Okay. I'm assuming we're not going in there to muck around tomorrow. We're going in there to win, right? Like, you want to win. You back yourself. You give yourself half a chance of winning. I think to win a tournament, there are some really, really important things. The first thing I'm going to say is luck. Luck is an important part. I've talked to Sid about this many times before. When it comes to catching really big fish, yeah, we sometimes know where they're going to be, but a lot of it comes down to luck. So your chances of winning tournament has got a little bit to do with luck. But there are a lot of things that you can do to improve your chances of winning a tournament. And one of the things I'm going to say for this particular weekend is I feel, as I've said already, that the fish now are going to be hard to the bottom on vertical structure is going to be really important to catching better quality fish. And I'll be fishing really slow. Now, Jack, when you fish crabs a lot, yeah? When you fish crabs, are you fish them very slow, would you say? Yeah, okay. So for me, and that works for you, and I think it will work for everyone here, and I think it'll work for most people who do that method. I will throw it. I would throw something like that, or a live yabby, or for some of you it'll be gulp crabbies or whatever at that sort of structure. But I think the key to it is fishing slow. It needs to almost look like it's about to die. I find that the fish, the more aggressive, bigger fish, will definitely pounce on it. And the reason I want to get it quicker to the bottom though, I said that right at the start of my talk with a motor oil grub on a 1/12, is because you get past those smaller fish. Those smaller fish, I don't know about you, but when I go past the boat hole, I do see a lot of, you see the big fish every now and then, but I see a lot more smaller fish. There are bigger fish there. They're at the bottom. I'd rather get it down quickly, throw past the mooring block, bring your lure past the mooring block, then past the middle of the hole, then past the back of the boat on the bottom, rather than maybe throwing. But each time you go out fishing, it will be different because of the pattern on that day. So that's one of the key things. I think fishing slow tomorrow, fishing hard to the bottom. There is a little bit of luck. And the other thing I think is, don't think that because someone else has just been past a fishing spot, because there is a lot of water in this system, but don't just think because someone's just been past a fishing spot that you wanted to fish, there's not going to be another fish there or a good quality fish to catch. Don't let that put you off. There are definitely good opportunities to be had once someone's done a run on any given bank. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. But I've lost my train of thought now. Thanks a lot. But the main point I'm making is fish slow, fish hard to the bottom, and don't give up. Think for yourself, the first thing you should be thinking about is catching 3 fish, regardless of the size. Once you've got that out of the way, then start thinking about how you're going to catch a bigger fish. Slow, hard to the bottom, and you want your presentation, I think, this is for me personally, to look dead. I know that a lot of you will fish surface tomorrow, and surfaces are a great way to catch big fish too on a reactive bite, but personally, that's not my go-to, and that's not something that I would do. I don't want to say too much more in case either one, you're getting bored, or 2, you're hungry. So I'm going to hand over to Jason. Oh, actually, before I hand over to Jason, I will give you a chance to ask some questions, because if there's something that you want to know that I might do, or something that I haven't sort of answered, or something you're thinking about that you've wanted to know about me, go for it now. Is your opportunity. That's a very good question. As I was saying before, I fish really deep. The boat holes that I fish are never usually more than 3 metres. I don't like to fish them more than 3 metres deep. If I'm fishing a light presentation, 100% shady side first, no doubt about it, always. The side that's protected from the sun. If I'm fishing the bottom, and I do fish the motor oil grub on a 1/12 a lot on boat holes on the bottom, I don't mind so much which side of the boat that I'm fishing on. It's more than about the wind and where the lure's going to get taken, probably by any wind drag on the line, and that sort of thing. So Depends on the lure, but yeah, lighter presentation, shady side first. Heavier presentation, it doesn't worry me. In saying that, you sort of prompted me to say something else very quickly. Another thing you need to be intentional about being in tune tomorrow, about being in tune with what's going on. And what I mean by that is you need to feel bites. You need to know when they're happening. And the only way you can do that is if you've got contact. You don't want too much contact, but you don't want a big loop of line there. If you've got a big loop of line, you're not going to have contact. You're not going to feel bites. You want to be feeling bites. And another little secret is if you're not sure if you're getting bites because you haven't felt any, get your jig head. And I find this a lot on these 112 jig heads, the TT jig heads. Get your jig head, pull it out, look at the jig head. Look for teeth mark in it because you might not be feeling bites, but you're getting bites. If you want to know, have a look at the plastic. A trick that Stewie Dunn told me ages and ages ago, he probably doesn't remember. Look at your plastic, but look at your jig head. That's a good indication. Any other questions?
You're using braid and glue, obviously, on the plastic.
Yep.
Hard body she's throwing the edges. What are you using?
I throw braid and fluorocarbon 95% of the time. I very rarely these days throw fluorocarbon straight through. What I will do is I'll tie on a much longer leader when I want to throw a crankbait or that sort of style with a much lighter leader. So for the crankbaits, I'll be throwing 8-pound braid, sunline usually, and I'll have 8-pound leader when I'm going heavy because, as I said, I'm going to be fishing structure. On those edges, those railway tracks that come down, you don't have much opportunity. Suicide casts, you've got to go for it. You've got to go for gold. You've only got one opportunity when you hook up. You've got to make the most of it. Soft plastic leader, depends what the structure is that I'm fishing. Mostly 95% of the time, it'll be 4-pound. I don't feel like there's a need to fish lighter than that. Maybe in the basin, in a clear day, but George River, Sydney Harbour, 4-pound. I've never had a problem catching fish and having to go lighter than 4-pound. Other people will have had other experiences, but that's what I'll be fishing 4-pound. But tomorrow I've got one 3-pound on braid. That's all on braid. So one 3-pound, two 4-pound, one 6-pound, one 8-pound leader. All Sunline Rock FC. Yeah. So the live yabby is always to fish light with a light jig head. It's either a 1/40th or a 1/28th, not any heavier. And I'll have two methods of throwing that. I'll be throwing it under boat holes or pontoons usually, or I'll actually use it as a surface lure. It sounds weird to say, but that is my surface lure most of the time. Yeah, I like the SF62. There are heaps of other really good surface lures out there, but that is actually my surface lure. So I'll just be throwing it hard to a bank, hard into mangroves, and I'll be cranking it out so I know I'm sort of in a little bit of a safe zone, especially if it's mangroves, obviously, because I don't use a weedless hook, so I don't want to get caught up in the mangroves and have to go in every time to pull my lure out. But I'll be throwing it and just skipping along the surface, and then I'll just stop it. Sometimes I'll stop it earlier or faster depending on whether I see a bow wave. If I don't see a bow wave, I don't necessarily think there's not a fish there. There could be a fish there, no doubt about it. So I'll leave it for 5-10 seconds, then I retrieve it. But under boat holes and under pontoons, I'm wanting that to look dead. It needs to look like it's dead or dying. If I think that it's sunk to the bottom, I'll give it a couple of rips, pause for another 5-10 seconds, then it's coming in. This time of the year, and as we go into winter, I'll start fishing it slower and slower and slower until it's almost dead. And look, scent does become an important part of it. I think fish can sometimes come up to a lure and they look at it, they get closer, they smell it, and then they'll eat it, probably maybe based on what you put on it on some occasions, especially in winter. The scents I'll be using, I use a combination, so I mix two together, S-Factor and the ProCure. What scent is it? Maybe shrimp, I think is shrimp. Yeah. So I'll mix the two of them together and have another canister that I'll squeeze it out of. The reason I do that is because I find that the shrimp, the ProCure scent, it comes off fairly quickly. It sort of doesn't glue to the lure as much, whereas the S-Factor does. So by putting the two of them on together, I like the scent of the ProCure better, but I like the S-Factor because it sticks better to the lure for me. Yeah. Well, I think I might hand it over to you, mate. I think I've said enough, so it's all yours.